Welcome back to the Auld Triangle, episode 65. And some might say that is a quiet time in Irish mixed martial arts. But we would beg to differ. And we're definitely, maybe, going to cover all things on this episode of the Auld Triangle, folks. Welcome back, Andy Stevenson, Caoilte Barra, here with me as always. And I'm going to try and get as many Oasis references into this week's episode as I can. Along with
you dirty dog.
You're definitely maybe going to the Dublin show, Andy, given your
fuck you.
You're going to have to slum it up with the old Welsh crowd over in Cardiff. I'm going to be the Lord of Croke Park on Saturday. What is it, the 26th of August? I'm buzzing to get my tickets. Very, very lucky, but how's and never. Let's go on. We can't tread too much on that. We're going to be tight for time today. Two great interviews coming up with Paddy McCorry and Tiarnan Loughran as well. I'm going to do what we should be doing at the start of most episodes. If you like what you hear, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, give us a rating on Spotify, leave a comment on the YouTube. It helps our algorithm, it helps us grow, and we always appreciate the support. We're going to get straight into it here, and we're going to talk Danni McCormack's huge win at the road to UFC and all the fallout that's happened after the fact as well. Look at positive and negative things to talk about this, guys. Let's start with the positive first. Let's take a look at the fight. Let's take a look at the performance itself, because, you know, when I'm looking at Danni McCormack, each time that she steps into the cage, she's getting better and better and better. And the UFC and the matchmakers put barrier upon barrier in front of Danni McCormack, and she keeps crashing them down. Went in and picked up a dominant, dare I say, one-sided decision over Yan Quihi. Look at a little bit, took a few shots early on, but settled into the fight. Won rounds 2 and rounds 3 clearly. 10-8 round in round 3, a lot of people have said as well, and I would tend to agree with that. Look at Andy, she didn't go out and win. She went out and dominated. She did everything correctly, and it was just a fantastic performance. And, you know, the journey that we've been on with Danni McCormack has been such a fun ride so far. And hopefully it's not over yet, especially, you know, hopefully she will get her chance in the UFC. We can talk a little bit about that first. We'll talk about her performance.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was blown away by what Danni did on road to UFC. I obviously, unfortunately, wasn't here for the interview you did with her on the last episode, but listening to that one, she did exactly what she said that she was going to do to the two of you. Like, where she knew that her opponent was going to come out swinging at her, and she did. I thought she looked pretty. Like, I didn't score the round for Danni, the first round, but like, she was taking some shots, but like, I thought she was sticking right in there and trading in the pocket, making it exciting. And then ultimately, as the fight wore on, she implemented her game plan. She started wearing her down. She started introducing the grappling. And then that third round where she's got blood dripping down onto her opponent as she's just battering her was ferocious. And I think that, you know, without getting into the complete granularities of the fight itself, Danni was brought in here to lose, realistically. The UFC were kind of just sufficing, or this is our assumption, sufficing, you know, all the people calling for her to get a shot. Right, we'll give her a shot. Then she goes in here, up a weight class, against an opponent who they've already been looking at. They're clearly kind of high on to bring back, and she spoils the party, and she does it in a very exciting way. I don't watch every UFC fight card these days, but I've watched a lot of fucking boring strawweight fights in the UFC, and that's just being completely honest. That was not one of those. There was rock'em sock'em robots at times. There was, you know, tactical, the IQ that Danni showed in the third round, to when she would take her down, she would inflict a load of damage, because it wasn't just taking her down and holding her. She was going for the subs, almost had a sub at one point, inflicting the damage. She gets back up and she starts to trade, and then she takes her down again. Incredibly high fight IQ. I thought Danni did everything that she could have done in this fight, obviously, except for getting the finish. But I mean, to go in and put on a bloody war, like, you know, showing like that, I think that shows a lot, and I think that's exciting for fans to watch. So if surely this is what the UFC are looking for, apparently at least not right now. So I'm a bit left kind of being like, what does Danni McCormack have to do here? I don't really understand.
Yeah, nor do I, to be honest. Look at it. Anyone who was tuning in for the first time to see Danni McCormack got exactly what Danni McCormack brings to the table, Caoilte. And he kind of highlighted as well. We had a mixture of tactics, you know, finding her range, using the teep kick to find her range, trading in the pocket, you know, trading at distance, takedowns, submission attempts, blood, gore, violence. It's everything that Danni brings to the table. And you know, we speak about, you know, Paddy and with Tiarnan, and we say that they're great representatives of Irish mixed martial arts, and Danni is another one as well. We have fantastic representatives, and you know, at the big stage she did everything in her power to try and get the call. It doesn't appear that's going to be happening, but the performance itself showcased exactly what Danni McCormack is all about, Caoilte.
Yeah, completely. It showcased like how she'll bite down the gum shield, she'll put on an entertaining fight. And I think in terms of the actual, like in terms of performance, it shows she's an all-around mixed martial artist. She is not a grappler. She's not just a striker. She's got it all going on. She can change up things when they're not going her way. She can, like as Andy mentioned, the fight IQ is just incredible. And the way she managed to implement the game plan and pick her moments in that fight, specifically in that final round, was just exceptional. And yeah, she represented herself. I think she represented Ireland, Irish MMA even, and the gym, everyone extremely well in there. And the fact that she doesn't seem to be getting a contract or even getting a much love from the UFC for that entertaining fight that she put on it's frustrating, really. Like, as you guys have mentioned already, it's what does she have to do? And it's a shame more than anything, because you know, are the days gone that where the best fighter in a division that's not the UFC can't get in anymore? What, you know, why are there so many hurdles for a fighter to get over to get in now? And yeah, it's a shame, but she represents herself and everyone brilliantly.
Yeah, shame is a good word. I would go as far as to say it's a disgrace that she's not getting in, to be honest. You know, that's the reality of the situation here. You know, I spoke about it a bit on the SevereMMA podcast this week, so I won't go too much more into it. But Andy, I'll give you the floor just to kind of, we're all in the same boat here. And obviously, look, we're close with Danni. We've seen her journey. We've followed her career so far. And you know, emotions can get attached to these kind of things sometimes, you know, but it's cut and dry, and it's not just Irish mixed martial arts media, it's other media members who are watching along and other fans who caught the road to the UFC and saw that too. You know, it does not make any sense to me why she hasn't been signed up to the UFC. I think if you take a step back, the fact that she even had to go onto the road to the UFC, I didn't agree with. I think she has done enough to deserve a call up to the UFC, full stop. But when you do go in there, you answer all of those questions, you get the job done, and there's still nothing. It's very, very confusing situation and a frustrating situation for us, and even more so for Danni herself, Andy.
It is, and like it's just really weird. It again highlights that the UFC, as they always have, to be fair, but they hold all the cards here. And I was chatting with PT on the Crack not too long ago, and one of the points he made is like, this Danni situation kind of highlights again where like it's not, is MMA a sport or is it entertainment? Because like Invicta is supposed to be the same way we talk about Cage, whereas historically Invicta was the route for women. You know, it's the women's only promotion, and it's kind of like the Cage Warriors version for women. And Danni's gone through that, and she's gotten the title, and she's defended the title, and she's gotten the finish, and now she's gone through this narrow structure that the UFC have implemented, where they only want people who are coming through the Contender Series or Tough or Road to UFC. And it's not like, you know, like we look at Paul Hughes recently. Paul was a free agent, and it was all like, it was money considerations. That's not even the case here for Danni. She's like, I'll go in on any contract. I just want to fight. Just let me fight in the UFC. And even still, it's like, oh no, sorry. So it's like, well, literally, I mean, like she's it's the matchmakers or Dana, or like, but likely the matchmakers, because Dana's not getting involved at this level in the UFC, who are just deciding we don't want Danni, at least right now, or they've shown that they haven't to date wanted Danni, which is just kind of confusing, because it's like, well, what is it like? How do you get into the UFC? Is like it's not like you can do all the things in the world in the cage, and then you don't get the reward of like getting to the next level. It's you're spot on what you're saying, what Pete was saying, and what we've been saying for quite some time. The sporting aspect of mixed martial arts inside the UFC can be sometimes non-existent. You know what I mean? And there's numerous examples of this over the last number of years. And you know, obviously we're close to Danni's story, but I would assume there's plenty of other fighters out there who are suffering the same kind of treatment from the UFC too. And it's like, you know, you do everything right, you don't get the just rewards.
And, it just kind of highlights what a kind of a cruel bitch of a sport, if you want to call it that, mixed martial arts is.
She's also she's what, 34 years old now? And what's she supposed to do? So
I think what she alluded to is that, she's going to try and stay ready. She's going to wait for maybe a late notice opportunity, but that must be a horrible situation to be in. She maybe flirted with the idea and kind of suggested that, if it doesn't happen, it may be it for her. And I would hate to see that for Danni, to be honest, because, let's go back to the level of skill that she's showing every time that she steps into the cage. So obviously, she's 34 years of age, but she started her mixed martial arts journey maybe later than other fighters have. So, I think she's peaking right now, and it would be a shame for her at this stage of her career to have to pack it up because she wasn't able to live her dreams and fight in the UFC. So, I would implore Danni to kind of maybe think about other options. I know, she has spoken about wanting to start a family and stuff like that, and but I'd love, if it didn't work out for the UFC, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'd give it 2-3 years in the PFL 125 pound division. She was up a weight class there. She normally fights at 115, but she looked damn good at 125 against a really, really strong opponent. And we have to say that too. Yankee, he was beating Karine Silva and just got caught in a submission. Karine Silva is now top 10 strawweight in the UFC. So that tells you the nature and the how good a win it was for Danni McCormack. So look at that. Hopefully stuff happens. It's a really particular strange situation, and I hope that she gets the call, and the circumstances that she'll get the call means that it's going to be bad luck for somebody else, unfortunately, but it shouldn't be that way. But I guess, Andy, any final thoughts before we move on?
Not really. I guess the only thing that was kind of floating through my mind there was I suppose, I brought up the fact that she's 34 years old, and the UFC could turn around and say, well, 34-year-old don't want to sign you, flirting with retirement. But the actual reality is, as you mentioned, Danni started the sport when she was probably 25, because it was 9 years ago when she was at that Conor thing. She's 34 years old and is willing to put her life on hold, where, she's talked to you about wanting to start a family. She's willing to put that on hold in pursuit of this, where she wants to keep going and keep going and keep going. She just wants to get her foot in the door, and then it's right, forget all those other life plans. I'm, gung-ho and making a beeline up the 115 pound division. So it's just tough. It's when someone has dedicated the last decade of their life to pursuing this goal and has, come through adversity. And yeah, she has a couple of losses on her record, but who cares? The same, it's just disheartening to hear about. You'll hear later on from Paddy McCorry, who kind of touches on a similar note about what the UFC are looking for as far as records, and not really looking at the quality of the wins, and just wanting these clean, bullshit, oftentimes undefeated records. It's just very disheartening from a sporting perspective.
It absolutely is. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we'll wait and see what happens. It was definitely, we wanted to kind of bring that to the forefront of this week's podcast. It's a hot topic right now, and hopefully things work out for Danni, and we'll see what happens down the line. I want to jump ahead just a little bit, lads, and we'll talk about a couple of upcoming fights. Obviously, we've got a big Bellator London card coming up on September 14th with a lot of Irish action. Obviously, Lee Hammond fighting on September 14th as well. A busy weekend in Irish mixed martial arts that weekend. But fights for Liam McCourt, Kieran Clark and Derek Kelly. Liam McCourt taking on Sarah Collins. Kieran Clark taking on Zenzabi Ruiz. Derek Kelly taking on Dmitry Hertsenko. Caoilte, any quick thoughts on those three fights?
Yeah, I think the Liam McCourt and Sarah Collins fight, brilliant matchmaking. I think this is probably a title eliminator at this point in the Bellator rankings. So at this stage, I think whoever wins that is going to go on and fight for the belt afterwards, depending on who's champion, be it vacant, however that plays out. But for this fight alone, I think it's going to be high stakes matchup between the two of them. And love the matchmaking there on that one. As for the others, Derek Kelly, that's a very tough fight. We've been calling for him to get that step up in competition, like we do most Irish fighters. I think the one criticism that we have had of Bellator PFL over the years has been step up in matchmaking and giving them tougher opposition. I think this one has really highlighted that step up and kind of almost answering the call of okay, this seems like there's a bit of progress being made as to giving fighters a tougher opposition, is the best way of putting it, and maybe a way of climbing the rankings and making a bit more of a statement. And as for Kieran, look, he's always got to fight in Ireland, so I'm delighted for him that he can compete abroad. He's been calling for it for so long, so this is the opportunity for him, and I'm happy that he gets it.
Yeah, 100% with Kieran. Obviously, I spoke with him at Cage Legacy 23. Had a couple of issues after his last fight, but coming in against Senzabi Ruiz. He's been calling out Danny Sabatello, Andy, on Twitter. You know, we've been kind of mentioning it ourselves. I think, you know, he's been deserving a name in the bantamweight ranks for quite some time, in my opinion. Senzabi Ruiz, not maybe quite a familiar name, but a good test for Kieran Clark, and I'm looking forward to seeing him going in there, as I am with Dara Kelly as well, and Leah. Your thoughts on the 3 fights?
Yeah, I'll start with Dara Kelly. So, I mean, this is a huge jump. I think this is the exact type of jump, as Caoilte mentioned, that we've been calling for many Irish fighters. And like Dmitry Rutsenko's already been in there against one of Dara's teammates, and Daniele Scatizzi. He looked really good. So like it's a tough fight, but it's what we've been calling for. So it's going to be a really solid litmus test. An undefeated 9-0 fighter Dara Kelly's taken on. Kieran's fight, yeah, like I kind of had to look. I can't remember his name. Zebenzi Ruiz.
That's what I'm calling him anyways.
Yeah, but as you said, like he's not maybe the most well known, but he does have a couple of solid wins against like Rafael Uchegbu at PFL. Obviously taking on Kieran now. So, and I think Rafael Uchegbu's gone on to win like 4 fights after that as well. Is now like 10-1. He took him out when he was undefeated at 6-0. So it's definitely a step in the right direction for Kieran Clark. And then obviously Leah, it's a huge fight for Leah. We saw Sarah Collins against Sinead there not too long ago. I still don't really understand what is going on at the top of the women's 145 pound Bellator PFL. Obviously, I know that there's a fight finally booked now between Cyborg and Larissa Pacheco, but like, what does that mean then for the Bellator side, etc.? So we'll see, but it's a big fight for Leah McCorden. It'd be a statement for her to go in here and take out Sarah Collins, especially, you know, there's this kind of subplot of like the Queen of Ireland title, you know, who's the best Irish fighter. Obviously, Sinead has beaten Leah, so it would be her rightful title. But if if Leah can then go in here and, you know, kind of beat someone who Sinead has lost to, it would kind of help to push her in the right direction, especially for a title push there. So very interesting to see. It's maybe flying a little bit under the radar, this Bellator London card. So I would try and get out and chat to a few of the lads out in SPG over the coming weeks. But it's a big fight card for the Irish, this Bellator London card. 3 solid fights. Absolutely.
Look, speaking of solid fights, let's move over and let's talk to Paddy McCorry. Obviously out of the Ultimate Fighter house now for quite some time. Had a tremendous run in the house, great season. And we're going to send it over to Andy to hear his thoughts on his experience in the house and what the future holds for him after leaving the house as well. So we'll hear Paddy right now.
We are now joined by the Prince of West Belfast, the King of the Street Soldiers from down the road. Paddy McCorry joins us fresh out of the tough house, which was about 6 months ago at this point. But he's finally off the show and he's back able to actually speak about things. How are you, Paddy? How's life?
Yes, lads. I'm very well. Thanks for having me on.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks for speaking with us today. We were looking forward to chatting with you. Obviously, Tough is an interesting format in that you go away, you're locked in a house, cut off from society essentially, and then nobody really sees the show then for a number of months later. So you're kind of in this weird limbo period where you know what's happened. As media members, we're trying to half like not know what happened, but at the same time we're like, how are people getting on? Did you get through and all this stuff? But now the show is over. It's been aired and it's done and dusted. So I guess reflecting back with a bit of time, how did you enjoy the overall experience of The Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah, I loved the overall experience. For sure. But when we were going in, Dana White said this before. This is going to be the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. And when I was in the house, I never really felt that. I was thinking, this is the dream. Like, this is exactly the lifestyle that I want to be living. But then when I came home, I understood why he was saying that it would be one of the hardest things you'll ever do, for sure. Just trying to adjust whenever I got home was definitely difficult. But the time in the house was unreal.
What did you find was the hardest thing of your life?
It was just trying to readjust the fucking society whenever I came back, bro. You know, like I was just in such a good routine over there, like just eating well, recovering well, training every day, getting a lot of sunlight. Then you're back to Belfast, fucking dull, grey as fuck. Just like, and then being in limbo with like no one knowing that you'd already fought, you know, like thinking that this was something coming up, constantly having to repeat yourself and explain yourself every day, and then people like torturing you about what happened as well, you know. It was a long few months. I couldn't wait till it had came out.
Was it hard to almost like re-enter, like I guess you're saying, like to go back to normal life, like yeah, like I'm here thinking about, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Shawshank Redemption, where the old lad, he's been in prison for like decades, and then he's finally free, and he's like, I have no idea how to.
Yeah,
like this is weird to me. I don't know how to live like
this.
Yeah.
But only it was like an opposite. I imagine well, I suppose over there it was just I thought that everything was good, you know, like being in the house. Obviously, you didn't have contact with people, but other than that, there was no negative for it. Like we had this wee sheet with your name on it, and you woke up and wrote down anything you wanted on that sheet, and the next day it was there. So coming back and having to go and do my grocery shop, it was like, fuck's sake, if I wanted to have steak the next day, I have to go and buy it. Whereas over there, if I was thinking I'm going to have a steak tomorrow, I just wrote it in that sheet and it magically appeared. So that took some getting used to, for fuck's sake.
You need to employ a butler in Belfast.
Oh, fuck, if only.
Heading into the house, Paddy, you're obviously the least experienced of anyone on the show. What was like, was there even a decision-making process, like where you're chatting with Liam and Pat around, you know, is now the time to go in, or was it just a straight case of this is an amazing opportunity and of course I'm going to take it? Yeah.
No, it was just a straight case of it's an amazing opportunity and of course I'm going to take it. To be honest, mate, it was a win-win situation for me. As you say, I went in the least experienced, and none of the fights go on your record. So any experience that you're gathering going in there fighting against guys at that level, it's a bonus in the larger picture of your career. Obviously, it's fucking heartbreaking to lose, and I went over there to win it. But at the same time, it's like basically like free XP points, you know. Like I went over and I have 2 fights under my belt, and neither of them are on my record. But it's still money in the bank, and it's things that are like experience that's going to pay off for me in the future.
What do you think is the biggest thing you've taken away from it? Like, what's been the best experience that you've gained from being in there?
It's just given me more and more belief in my ability, and just more confidence in the level that I'm at. Like I've always knew that I was a very skillful fighter. But being in a house around, like they went and picked the best prospects they could pick from, I think it was 15 countries. I think there was 16 people, 8 in each weight, and it was from 15 countries. So I was there with the best of the best, and I wasn't shy in any department with any of them. Like there was none of them I was looking, being like I couldn't keep up with him in this department or that. So I'm more sure of my abilities. I'm more sure of where I'm going to go than ever. So just being around people like that, and just rubbing shoulders with the likes of Alexa Grasso and Diego Lopez and people who are where I want to be. It's just I've just came back full of confidence.
Paddy, obviously the season is kind of broadcast over 12 weeks here. From the time you got into the house to the time you got out of the house, how long was it for you?
I think we got back on like the 11th of April. 9th or the 11th or something, like thereabouts of April. So a couple of months.
Was it 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Yeah, it was 6 weeks in total. I think we were in the house for 5 weeks, but we were in a hotel for a week before the fight. You know, like they brought over 10 people at both weights, and then they told 2 people to go home. Did you ever see that fucking turkey who's fighting on the Dana White Contender Series? The guy who's had like 2 fights on it now. I think he's just got given a 3rd one. Your mom and no knack, he's like 5 foot.
Yeah.
I know the fella, yeah.
Torres Finney.
Yeah, he was supposed to be in the house and they sent him on. They've obviously watched one of his fights and fucking fell asleep. So they sent him on at the hotel. So there was like alternates at the hotel, you know.
Yeah. That was in case of any injuries or something early days, I guess, was it?
Yeah, I think it was like more a case of if they failed the drug test or the medicals, something like that.
Yeah. I thought it was a very talented kind of cast. Tough gets a big bad rap now, and it has over the last number of years. So I know the UFC have been trying to kind of light the fire under the season. I obviously looked at it really close with Theo, and we covered most of the episodes there on their YouTube channel. And I genuinely said, not because we were covering it and I was looking at it closely, it was a really talented cast overall, and there's a lot of talented guys in there. Were you happy with the team selection, with the crew of guys that you were with, obviously?
Yeah. I do agree that it was a particularly high level of tough. Like, even when I went over, I seen Amran and Giannis in the airport, and I was thinking, fuck, I thought Giannis would have been signed right away. He's like Cage Warriors world champion, had a couple of nice KOs under his belt. I always thought the tough was more like prospects, like who they wanted to build and push on their career. But most of the guys there were in their 30s and well into their career. People there who've been professional way over 10 years. So it definitely was different this year for sure. But what was the other part of the question? Sorry.
The team selection, where you're happy with
the team selection. The team selection I thought was hard to believe. Like, I thought that all the best fighters were in our team, especially at middleweight. Like, so I was surprised at how the selections went.
Yeah,
I thought we got all the favorable matchups.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it was. And, kind of in some regards materialized that way as the season went on as well. Big kind of a focal point of the whole season was a good friend of yours and a guy you ended up fighting in the semi-finals, and that was Robert Valentine. A very, very cool, strange, out there individual. You got up close and personal with him, obviously, over the course of a number of weeks. What does he like to be around? And obviously, you had probably the best and closest experience that you could have with someone getting in there and fighting him himself. And it was crazy to see his progression and the story build somewhat around him throughout the season.
Yeah. No, I knew when we were over there that this guy's going to get most of the TV time. He was just he knew what he was at, kind of when the cameras were there, he knew what way to play it and stuff. But I actually just didn't have fucking energy to be doing it. The cameras are 24 hours a day, and I just forgot they were there most of the time. But he was well aware of why he was there and what he wanted to get out of the show. And fair fucks to him, he definitely made the most of it. But on a personal level, he's an absolute gentleman. I got on with him very well. In the first couple of days, we had a couple of fucking deep conversations with him and just understood him so much more after them conversations, and understood he is why he is. And he definitely fucking, we all wanted the best for each other in our team. It's so mad because going over there, I was like, fuck everyone. I'm not going into this house to make friends. I'm going over here to fight, get a contract. I didn't want to make friends at all. And then in a couple of days, I was like, fuck's sake, I can't help but these cunts. They're all just sound as fuck. I actually just created a proper cool wee atmosphere within our team, and everyone was just helping each other and staying out of each other's way. And just, we all had talks every night that here we might fight each other here, and if we do, we'll have a good rattle at it. There was no hard feelings or animosity in our team. And we still obviously tried to clip the head of each other when we did fight. But I definitely got on with him a lot for sure.
Yeah, it's strange because, we've seen a lot of house drama in the past, and we were I had a thing called the house drama meter, and it wasn't going too high in this season at all.
I was actually thinking that, bro.
Yeah, it was going the opposite way. It was was it weird for you being around people that you're going to be fighting with? Normally, like you said, you do have that kill or be killed attitude before you go into a fight. But when you're making these close connections with these guys and you're spending all of your time there, you're cutting weight together, you're sitting down, you're sharing meals together. Was it a hard adjustment for you, Paddy, to kind of get used to that kind of format?
If you had asked me before, it would have been nah, I couldn't do that. It would have been weird. But when it was happening, it just kind of fucking felt normal. It wasn't I was sitting going, oh, this constant nice guy is going to, we're not going to try and go at it because we're mates. I knew that he's a fucking psychopath and he was going to come at me, and I needed to take him out as soon as possible if an opportunity presented itself. So as soon as the bell rang, it was literally no different to any other fight. I did not approach it different in any other way, whether there was a lot of animosity before a fight or whether we were friends. It felt the exact same on fight day and fighting. But there was a couple of moments I just laughed at myself, fucking wake as soon as I open my eyes on fight day, he's like standing there taking vitamins at the fucking bottom of my bed, and then like after we're both weighed in, we're eating his pasta to fucking like the fuel back up after the weigh-in. He's making like this banana bread and pasta, and we're just getting carved up, and I'm like, it's fucking mad, this fella's cooking me a meal to fuel me to fight him. So there was a couple of moments.
He did seem like from a viewer's perspective, like Robert kind of seemed like almost a bit of a leader almost on the team, where like he was in the cornering lads and giving people advice, and he seemed like a genuinely nice guy. So like I was kind of, when we were talking about your performance on the last episode, I was wondering, like, was there almost an element, considering that you came out like a bad out of hell, and now of course we've seen you before against the likes of Angus Hewitt, where you're never exactly a slow starter in your fights, you're coming out to take people's heads off. But is there any sort of element of, I'm going to go out here and put down a marker here to say we may be friendly, when we're outside the cage, but I'm going to show you what's what here?
Yeah, see, someone said that to me after, like, people were like, oh, they think the friendship effect, and I was like, no, and then they were saying, well, the way he was going about saying it's going to be vicious, it's going to be a war, do you think that affected you? And to be fair, in my head, I was going, this cunt thinks I won't have a fucking war with him here. Like, well, so I was kind of like, I was kind of going in being like, if this cunt starts swinging, I'm going to start swinging too. When
I was actually wondering that.
I wouldn't normally go into a fight like that. Like, if I wanted to go in and knock someone out, it would be like setting traps, landing a few shots, and like trying to disguise things and make reads. But it wouldn't necessarily be going out to be like, if he starts swinging, I'm going to start swinging. But with Robert, it was definitely like that, because I was just like on the week of the fight, I was like, I can see this cunt's bluff. I'm gonna fucking smoke him. You know what I mean? Like it, and I knew he was like, I was just like, right, they all think that he's the leader here and he's coaching and all, but I'm gonna fucking go at this cunt here. Like in the back of my head. So maybe I like jumped the gun a wee bit because of that, but you can fucking shoulda, woulda, coulda. Like I don't have any regrets about it at all. And in terms of him coaching and all, I never asked him to do my corner. I wouldn't have been fucking asking cunts that I could have fought to do my corner. Myron asked him to do his corner, so that's why he was in the changing room, and then he just ended up doing my corner. But I'm glad that he did, because if you hear his corner advice, it was fucking perfect. It was nailed on. He was even getting in the guy's head who I was fighting whenever he was holding on the body locks too tight, and you could see that he was genuinely happy for me when I won the fight. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't faking it or just being there to be like, oh, I'm coaching these cunts. He was actually giving good advice and being sound as fuck. So he was useful as a coach. And even when we were in the changing room, the training room, he was teaching Diego and Alexa things, like in jiu-jitsu. Like they were asking to break down certain positions, and he was able to break them down and talk them through it and give them like his techniques, and they were taking it on board. So I knew that he had like a wealth of knowledge in that department. I think he made his fucking pro debut in like 2016. So he's been around the block, and he's definitely experienced. And there's things to learn from everyone. Like there's beginners who come in our gym and I'll see them do stuff, and I'm like, fuck, that's actually nice, and try and take from it and learn from it. So it would be stupid for me not to learn from someone like him. But as soon as the like fucking cage closed, it was no different than any other fight. I didn't have any more respect for him than I had for any other of my opponents.
Paddy, you mentioned obviously what happened there. It's like Robert was showing like Scrasso and everyone else, bits and bobs off the mats with jiu-jitsu, and like there's a lot of stuff I imagine didn't make it to air. The episodes are only an hour long, but is there anything in particular? Sorry?
So much funny shit didn't make the air. Like I think some of it was too much because it's on ESPN now. Like see all the fucking good tough episodes you see highlights of, that was all on Spike TV. Where now it has to be PG as fuck. Like I have never laughed more in my fucking life than them 6 weeks. Like I was genuinely in tears every single day without fail. Like there's so much shit that happened that they never showed. Like they never showed anything that was funny. Like I've been saying to my mates, like, did they not show us? Did they not show that? And there's so much shit that like, but I kind of understand why they didn't show it. You could not put some of it on TV, but there was lots of funny shit that happened. Like there was just no like drama or like real animosity other than Giannis getting blocked and taking knives out saying he was going to stab Robert. He was heavily concussed after his fight, like, so there was a bit of drama there. But other than that, it was just like everyone was just having a laugh, like, and it was funny as fuck.
Sure. I mean, like, who hasn't taken a knife out and threatened to stab someone? Like,
yeah, no, mate. Sure. What's a bit of stabbing between mates?
Well, we're not uncensored here, Paddy, so you can tell us you can tell us a few stories here if you want as well. Anything stand out?
No Bobby Southworth and Chris Lieben moments, no.
No, there was nothing.
That's a fucking lie. Look at his face.
Oh fuck! There was one of the guys on our team got caught wanking in the fucking.
Jesus Christ!
He was sneaking off during the training sessions and going into the spare changing room in the Apex. And fuck, we were
probably best they didn't show that one. To be fair,
we were always wondering what he was at. Then we were like halfway in there, we were talking, and people were like, "Oh, I can't wait to get home and see my girlfriend or my wife or whatever." And he turned around and was like, "I've been busting them the whole time." Oh fuck! He's in stitches. Then he was telling us that's what he was at in the spare chain room. I knew you were at something. Oh fuck! Right. There was lots of funny things, like, but I can't actually say the rest of them.
Yeah, I think we may leave it at that for stories from in the
just
gap.
bleep my move or whatever.
On the flip side, Paddy, I think that and look, this has been a consistent theme, and I'm not gonna don't cry on me here because I've made you cry before. But one of the beautiful things about your career and what you kind of display is your brother is a constant theme, right? And I thought that you came across incredibly well, not even just with regards to talking about your brother or anything, but I feel like you came across as a great representative for Irish MMA and for yourself and for your team on the show. But one of the things that you were open with, which you have been before, is wanting to be that role model for your brother. And I'm kind of curious, like obviously that's a very natural thing because he's your younger brother.
Yeah.
But like, is there a reason, or like growing up, like did you have that kind of role model? Like, is there a reason why it means so much to you?
I think in our area, mate, we're like starved of good role models. So when I grew up, the only people I really looked up to were the fighters in the area, like fucking Mick Conlon, Jamie Conlon, like Martin Rogan, even big fucking Rogie. I don't know if you know him. He's a boxer and he's from West Belfast, but they were the people who I always looked up to when I was older. And then there was definitely a point in my life when I was like later teens, earlier 20s, where I was a wee rugrat. Like I was fucking just like, you know what I mean? I was up to no good. And I knew like at some point that this is going to definitely have an effect on my wee brother's life if I keep living my life like this, you know what I mean? Like he was too young at that time for it to ever have an effect on him. But I was aware that if I kept living how I was living, then it was definitely going to have an effect on his life and would have made his life harder. So that was like one of the fucking driving forces in me to just like make a change and like just try and do something worthwhile. So like when he was older, like that I could make his life a wee bit easier, you know what I mean? Because where we grew up, there's not much hope, and it's tough. Like, so the least I could do is try and lead a good example for him, because if I kept living how I was living, nothing that I would have said would have had any substance to it, because he'd be like, "You're saying this, but sure, what are you doing?" You know what I mean? So like going through them couple of years, I was like a driving force in me to stop living how I was living, was the effect that it would have had on him. So now when it gets tough and things can like how can I say it, like you may like just be like fuck this and you want to take the easy way out, then like that's what can keep me on track, like just knowing that I can be a good example for him and make his life a wee bit easier.
Well, I think you're absolutely doing that, Paddy, and it's like it's a very inspiring. I feel like for a lot of people, it won't just be your brother, but like the way that you carry yourself and have carried yourself on the show, and of course throughout your career, I think it's you know, that'll inspire a lot of young lads out there coming up from your area. So you're already kind of living that, which is great to see. And I'm conscious of time, or before we jump on to maybe what's next for you, I feel like throughout your career, you have really in a short space of time, or in kind of fight by fight, even you make the most of your opportunities. You squeeze the most out of it. So whether it's the James Webb fight where you're fighting a Cage Warriors champion early in your Cage Warriors debut, you're getting the most out of that. The Sam Arcadi fight where you have 3 grueling rounds and you manage to pull out the comeback submission. you went in and fought Robert Valentin, and although it was a first round loss, I feel like the experience you had in the fight were incredible, and like there was a lot of really solid experience, and you showed a lot there. Looking back on your time in the Tough House and the performances, do you feel like there's a lot of experience that you've gained there, and are you happy overall with the experience that you had?
Yeah, I agree. I genuinely believe that I couldn't have got more out of the fights that I've had than what I've gotten out of them. You know, like, and I genuinely just think I'm blessed, bro. To be honest, like I've been blessed with these opportunities. I believe that they've all came at the right time. And I just think that I've been blessed by God for making the right decisions. Like there was times in my life when it was like I want this and I want that, but then I would go through a real rough patch. And I would just always tell myself this is a test to see if you really want it. Like if you want what you're saying you want, you need to work hard, you need to dig deep, you need to be consistent. And I always used to just tell myself that I was just being tested and these opportunities would come. And they've always have came. Like anytime one door's closed, like a bigger opportunity has came just after it, or any time I've ever thought that I was in over my head and I just took a leap of faith, it's just always came to fruition for me. Or even if I have lost a fight, I've got so much experience out of it, like that James Webb fight, even like that fight with Robert as well. Like if you looked on paper in some fights, there should be like he should be getting steamrolled, but just someone has been looking over me and just kept me safe and allowed me to get the most out of the experience that I've had so early in my career. So I genuinely do believe that I'm blessed. Like before like my professional debut is when I started like trying to build in my relationship with God more, and I just do feel it every time I go into that cage that I'm blessed. Even like if you watch my professional debut, like I moved up from welterweight and I fought a guy whose first fight was at heavyweight, and I moved up to middleweight. First ever fight at middleweight. This cunt got juiced to the neck, dropped the middleweight with a fucking 8-pack, big Moldovan wrestler. Like on paper, he is the worst type of style I could have possibly fought. Was fighting him in a wee 18-foot cage on Cage Conflict, and if anyone from the outside looking in would think he should have done me, like, and I looking back, I think that too, like, he probably should have done me then, but someone just the fucking power of God just got me through it, and just I don't know, like some things that I've been through so early on in my career, I look back and scratch my head and be like, I do not know how I got through that, and it's just that my faith in God is what I believe what's got me through them all.
Paddy, we were quite surprised that there weren't more of the lads from the seasons on the finale card, but particularly like both yourself and Omran. Obviously, we're looking from an Irish perspective. You went in there, you took out Mark Hulme, you then went in against the top guy in Robert Valentin, you lost the final, but a really dangerous guy in Robert Valentin. You heard him, and now okay, fair enough, you didn't win the fight, but we thought that we might have seen you on the finale show. Was there any consideration for that, or did that come up?
Well, I was staying ready just in case that I got the call, but in my mind I was like, if I get the call, I'm going to do it. But do I think I could do with a couple more fights before going to the UFC? Absolutely. Like, I think a couple more fights is ideal scenario for me. I'm in this for the long run, and I don't want to rush things. I don't want to get to the UFC too early and fucking just people being able to hustle rounds out of me just because they have more experience on me. I think a couple of more fights on Cage Wars and just to refine my skills, and I'll go into the UFC and show the world what I'm about. Obviously, I would have took a fight on the finale, but I understand why they haven't given me one, because I'm only 4-1. But make no mistake that I'm 100% going to be in the UFC. And I do think they've signed a couple more people from the show who they haven't released yet, or haven't told, the public aren't aware of yet. So I do think they've given out a couple of contracts, to be honest. But one never came my way. But it's not something that I hold any anger towards, or I'm like, fuck's sake, it's not going to happen now because it didn't happen then. Like, I know where I'm going to be, and I understand why I didn't get one because of my record. To be honest, I don't even give a fuck about who you're fighting on this Cage Wars. This is one thing, or not Cage Wars, the UFC is one thing I've learned. Like, I'm 4-1, but if you look at the people I fought, they're all high level guys. In the house, whenever people had bigger records than me, I was like, yeah, you're fighting bums. You know what I mean? My 4-1 is a good 4-1 compared to these cunts 10, 11, 12-0 or whatever. and they're fighting a load of bums. But the UFC actually don't care who you're fighting. Like, they just want to see a nice record on paper, and then they're happy to give you a shot. So I'm just going to get a couple more wins on my record, and then I have no doubt that I'll be early.
So it sounds like then, I mean, that sounds like you were in agreement. That sounds almost ideal scenario where, okay, yeah, they haven't signed you, but you're almost in agreement with them to say, I need a bit more time. I need to, round out my game and just get that extra experience so that you can hit the ground running when you get there. Cage Wars, I assume, is what's next then. What is next for Paddy McCorry?
Yeah, I'm going to fight on Cage Wars London. And also, see that guy, Ryan Loader, who won it? He is fucking dirt. I would smoke him, like, big time, like, proper heavy smoke him. He's shit. Like, see a big, stiff southpaw wrestler like that? It's my wet dream. I would beat the fuck out of Ryan Loader. Make no mistake. I am absolutely certain that I would beat him. It's just styles make fights. And Robert caught me in that slick wee judo submission, and that's obviously a hole in my game. But there's no way that Ryan Loader would have got me in that, and I would have blew his head off if I was ever matched up with him. I was begging for him for a day dad. So that's just on the tough situation. And Ryan Loader, he's a fucking muppet. But
can I follow up on that? What do you think went wrong for Robert in the final?
I just think he might have overlooked him a bit.
Yeah.
Because Robert is definitely a better fighter than him. Like that guy, Ryan Loader, his striking is white belt material. Like, and when we were doing the evaluation, I was throwing punches in slow motion and every single shot was hitting him. Even when I was wrestling with him on the fence, I felt fucking handy. And my whole career, from my first joint fight academy, my two sparring partners were Caolte McClurkin and Carl Moore. Two big, strong southpaws. Caole's a heavy wrestler. Carl's an unbelievable grappler. If there's ever a style in this world that I can deal with, it's a southpaw wrestler. So I wish I had got that Ryan Loader matchup, but maybe one day down the lane, that would be a lovely UFC debut for me to cut the head of Ryan Loader. I'd fucking love that. But yes, UFC or Cage Wars London is what's next for me, Bush.
Do you have an opponent yet or not yet?
It's like in the works now.
Okay. Well, look, you didn't get the finish over Robert Valentine, but you did get that guillotine over Markham. And my God, I mean, from transition from that Samir Kaddi fight where, don't jump the gilly, and he gets it, and then he goes and pulls it off again, and now we have this incredible T-shirt. Which, I mean, so I don't know if Caoilte or someone maybe you can claim this, but like it almost looks like a WWE style T-shirt.
Yeah.
It looks
That's
cool.
what I was going for, the retro WWE style. Yeah, two gillies, lads. It was so nice I had to do it twice.
Are you like, is this like not bragging rights, but anytime Liam or Pat are telling you now, Paddy, let's have a little chat here. We're not going to jump the gilly this time. Yeah. Are you just kind of like, well, hang on, I'm after doing this twice now?
I don't give a fuck what anyone says, boys. If the next hour, I'm going to take a bite on it like all day, every day. Even if it doesn't work, it gets people scared of just recklessly fucking jumping from my legs, which is what these cunts are doing. But like, remember, how Nate Diaz would like sometimes he'd be getting a Hayden and people would drop him and they would be scared to go into his guard. I hope this is how these cunts are with me now. Like, they're scared to shoot because they know I'm going to snatch their neck.
Well, look, Paddy, are you selling them still, or where can people buy them?
Yeah. I'm selling them from the gym. If anyone ever needs them posted, DM me. I can post them. There's still a few left, but yeah, they're fucking weapons. But what was I going to say? Yeah, in that Samir Kaddi fight, lads, I knew that guillotine was there because he wasn't defending right. He was just doing like a juice head defense, and I'm so used to juice head defenses. Like in our gym, if you get a bite on someone's neck, the first thing they're doing is fighting the hands. But a juice head will push their shoulder first to try and like open the hand with their shoulder, and that works whenever you may be very fresh, or if it's against like someone whose technique isn't really good. But if you can beat that shoulder by a half a second, the defense, it's too late to fight the hands then. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people would fight the hands then maybe try and fight with the shoulder. He wasn't fighting the hands. He was just going all shoulder first, which is a fucking juice head's defense. And that's what he done the first, second, third time I jumped it. So I knew the more this fight goes on and slower he gets, if I can get a half a second and get over his shoulder, it's too late then for him to fight hands. Once he starts fighting hands, I'm gone. Like, he'd be snoozing boiling. So that's why I kept jumping in that Samir Kaddi fight. It wasn't like it wasn't like I was like, oh, I need to just jump and hold him here. I knew that he was doing the juice head defense, and I just needed a half a second ahead of him, and he would have been smoked. So that's why I was jumping that like a maniac.
That is the slickest use of snooze and boil.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff there. I'm definitely going to use that.
I was now, not that I know anything about fucking the technicalities of fighting, but I was standing beside Reece McKee during that Caddy fight, and he got into the third round or whatever, and he went for the takedown again, and I was like, Reece, he needs to stop going for this guillotine.
Yeah. I think everyone
no less than a minute later, he had it.
And also, the pain I had in my foot was the worst pain I've ever felt in a fight. Like, I broke my hand, completely snapped the bone in a fight, and I could feel the bone moving about my hand as I was fainting. And this foot was still 10 times more excruciating than that broken hand. Like, I was convinced that the bones in my foot were snapped, because I was chopping his leg early and I kicked his knee like right at the end of my foot as he was jumping back, and I could not bounce on the leg at all. I had, like, with him, I knew the footwork was a key and like exploding in and out because he is a heavy grappler, and then my bounce was completely took away from me. So like the plan A was go in, use your feet, angles, and when he starts going flat, then we'll attack. And I completely lost my feet, so I just had to go to plan B. I was saying to them in the corner, like, well, just try and create a scramble and try and get a submission here. And they were like, no, keep putting it on him, keep kicking him. I was like, you're not understanding how sore my foot is here. Like, it was fucked.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So long may the guillotines continue. We will never question the guillotine, the Paddy McCorry guillotine again. But Paddy, look, I really appreciate the time here today. I would encourage everyone watching to go buy one of your beautiful shirts.
Yes, sir.
As I said already, you were a brilliant representative for Irish MMA within the Tough House. I think I heard that you haven't watched it, so I don't know if you've seen that, but just in case you haven't watched it back, you came across really, really well. So fair play to you. Looking forward to seeing you out again at Cage Warriors London, and I appreciate the time today, pal.
Lads, thank you very much. It's always good to speak to you, all right?
Top man, Paddy.
Cheers,
thank you. All right. Great to hear from Paddy McCorry there. Let's talk Akuma, guys. Great card. A metric ton of fights happened on this card. It was absolutely insane. Big wins for Dominic Rhodes in the main event. For the lightweight championship, obviously Kevin Keogh picked up a good win as well, and a bunch of wins from very well known names, Caoilte, throughout the card as well. When we look down through it, and obviously we nearly have to dedicate a full podcast in its own right for all the results here, but if we were to pick out a couple of the standout performances here, Caoilte, on this card, who would they be?
Yeah, I think some of them, first one that stands out is Fufu Fares. Like, he goes in there against Almas Oliver. Their two boys are probably two top prospects across the entire country. We've been speaking highly of them both for quite a long time now. And he goes out, gets the decision win over Owen, and unbelievable win for Fufu. He's been flying it, between the IMAFs, winning titles regionally, probably the best form of his life at the minute in his career, and definitely a standout and statement win at that as well, with that win over Onus Oliver. Outside of that, I think one who we've probably waxed lyrical about in recent times would be Kai O'Sullivan. She's coming off the back of a massive head kick victory at Cage Legacy, and then goes in there and puts on a brilliant performance against Chloe Crozier, who is no joke either. She's a very, very tough opposition. It's up a weight class at bantamweight, and Kaya goes in, gets the decision and gets the decision win as well. So that's some solid momentum for her in this year as well, and a massive performance. That one wasn't for a title, but another, regardless, amazing win. Like, this card was stacked full of title fights, and just stacked in general, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, indeed. Andy, any thoughts yourself on the card? I mean, we need more cards like this, like an abundance of fights, abundance of opportunities for a lot of fighters here in a time where there hasn't been that many cards, and we've seen promotions fall off rather than kind of put on fights. So it's good to see Akuma coming on strong with a card like this.
Yeah, 100%. It's brilliant to see cards like this. But like, to be honest, not to just repeat what Caoilte said, but I would echo the two that really stand out to me is one is the Fufu Fares win. I really feel like he has come on leaps and bounds over the last little while with regards to just rounding everything out. I feel like he was a very solid, dynamic, exciting front foot fighter at an earlier stage in his amateur career, where he would be, looking incredible, and then something would go wrong, or he'd zig when he should zag, or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden he's on the wrong end of a loss. Not that you can be on the right end of a loss, I suppose, but he'd end up losing. Whereas now it seems that everything's starting to click for him. He's really looking smooth out there, and it's brilliant to see. So it kind of highlights and underlines the importance of amateur MMA for me. Is like, that's the whole point of this: is you go in, you learn, you win some, you lose some, and then you start to round out the gaps. Everything starts to click, and then you take that step. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe in the next year or so he make the jump to pro. And similarly, I would be shocked if we don't see Caoilte O'Sullivan switching to the pro ranks in the near future. I feel like she's almost done everything that she can do on the amateur scene, and I would be more than happy. I think she would be phenomenally, exciting to watch. I think of the likes of Chanel Dyer when I think of Caoilte O'Sullivan and what she could potentially look like when she's allowed to throw elbows and things like this. So, and then just to give it maybe a shout out to a couple of the other lads, Dominic Rhodes obviously winning the lightweight title, Kevin Keogh beating James Slavin for the featherweight title, and then additionally we had Jamie McGarty defeated Robert Barrett via first round sub, and Peter Halpenny defeated Sean Kelly via second round sub. And I believe I've just seen that the two of those, so Peter Halpenny and Jamie McGarty, are about to fight each other on Clan Wars coming up in November. So that'll be an interesting one there as well. So yeah, a solid card, and so yeah, a transitionary, I think, maybe moment for a couple of fighters in their amateur careers as they look ready to make that jump to the pro ranks.
Yeah, just to maybe piggyback on Fufu and Kaya there. I mean, we obviously do our amateur of the year at the end of the year, and those two are going to be up there when it comes to nominations and stuff like that. Like, Fufu's been having a tremendous year this year in 2024, and to me right now he's up there at the top of the list for me as from what we've seen. Look, we take everything into account, activity, wins, everything like that, but like I said, he's showing his experience in the cage now and picking up some great wins as well, so all credit to him. While we're talking about so go ahead, Andy.
No, I was just going to say, just one last thing on that is also, like, obviously didn't win the fight, but Almas Oliver, like, everything I just kind of said there about Fufu and the amateur experience, like, Almas Oliver is an incredibly solid fighter. We've seen him do brilliant things in the cage, and like that'll probably be a loss that'll stand to him moving forward. I know it probably doesn't feel like that right now for him, but again, this is the point of amateur. Like, he's a very, very good fighter, and I'm sure we'll see him back having brilliant performances again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to jump, while we're on the amateur scene, Caoilte, back over to you, because on Sunday, September 15th, we do have Iúr Fighting Championships. They are back, and they've got another rock-solid card here. Decky was kind enough to share the current card with us. Obviously, look, subject to change as well. But when we're looking at it, Caoilte, any standout fights for you? I can see a couple on there myself.
Yeah, there's plenty. Like, Decky, in terms of matchmaking, he's second to none. He always makes really, really good fights. I'm going to stay away from the pro ones for now because they're always the standouts. So I think the first one that stands out, we've actually spoken about this one before, but I can't help but highlight it again. It's Roman David. Apologies, I'm not too sure about how to say his second name exactly, but him against Jordan Scully for the super featherweight title. I just think that is exceptional.
Great fight. I love that fight.
That's one of those that's going to get people off their seats. It's going to be high octane action, absolutely brilliant. Stylistically as well, it's kind of a little bit of a clash of styles for striker versus grappler. I think the two of them bring out the best in each other, and I am absolutely buzzing for that. Further down, there's another one that stands out, and that's Oisin Daly of Team Torres. He takes on Alex Keogh. I think Alex Keogh has been, riding this wave of momentum and hype and everything. I think he's been out training in Sweden. Jordan Scully has as well, actually. And I think this will probably be his toughest fight to date, because Oisin Daly is no joke. And this one could be fight, even including the professional fights, this one could be fight of the night. But look, this card is stacked from top to bottom. But those two, for me, are the major standouts outside of the professional fights, to be very honest.
What about yourself, young Stevenson?
It really is I feel like it's maybe an overused saying to say a fight card is stacked from top to bottom, because oftentimes they're not. Is there reality of the situation? But this one actually, like, it truly is. Like I look at like Shea Cleland versus Henry Lecca. That's a fucking brilliant fight. I believe they fought before. I think actually Henry won the first one. We've seen, you know, the two lads competing over the last number of years at amateur, and Shea has obviously had some brilliant fights. We saw the fights against Damien McGuigan. Another one that I find interesting, it's on the prelim section, I believe, of the card, but a professional bantamweight bout between Carl McCormack. Now, this may be the co-main. I think it may be just the place of the graphic we've been sent. But Carl McConway from SBG Charlestown taking on Shane Mullen of SBG Ireland. You know, two lads who maybe not have like the most, I would say, you know, Shane Mullen has not had the most like standout amateur career. He's I think 2-4 as an amateur, but he's taken on some really tough guys in the likes of, like, he went to a split decision with Takamandu. He's taken on Alex Josan, who was on a great run at one point, and Damien McKenna was his last amateur fight. And he's going to be facing against Carl McConway, who at a certain point, maybe a couple of years ago, it felt like Carl McConway was on a card every weekend or every second weekend in Ireland. He was the most active man in the country. So he's now making the jump to the professional ranks. I also see a fight here between Brendan Brannigan of Team KF and Kevin Keogh of Team Rhino Waterford. That's very well matched. Ava Cruz is taking on Chloe Crozier. I think that's also well matched.
I like that fight too. Yeah, that's one I was going to mention myself. You know, we have the Paolo brothers there as well. They're fighting.
Same card.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see that too. I mean, look at fair play. Like I love the fact that we're having some professional fights on this as well, much needed on the island. Obviously, we've spoke about that from time and time again. And look at Decky has knocked it out of the park here again. Lots of amateur, lots of professional fights to look forward to on that. And we're going to be going googly-eyed from watching Irish mixed martial arts that weekend, lads, aren't we?
100%. And I think, not to spend too little time on the main event, Jess Paolo, like, he was very successful as amateur. It's going to be very interesting to see how he switches over to the professional ranks. I'm interested to see how his game progresses and how his style progresses now that he's able to, he would take lads down, a lot of heavy pressure, but now maybe the fact that he's going to be able to throw elbows, this could be a whole new asset to him that we haven't seen at amateur, where, maybe we've been hoping, if he can just add a little bit more damage, he can be incredibly dangerous, in addition to being as dominant as he has been. So very interested to see how he now looks as a pro.
Yeah, me too. And obviously I want to give two shout outs to, obviously, to Cale Brennan and Matthew O'Rourke fighting out of the Team Milo in Kilkenny under Miles Price. Obviously the hound Matthew O'Rourke was disappointed obviously with his showing in Kilkenny, so he gets to bounce back there against Bradley Rice from Next Gen. So shout out obviously Cale Brennan fighting Robbie Whitehead. Look at me, I'm looking forward to this card. It's going to be cracker. And we shall break it all down after it happens, of course. Obviously, we had another big win for the Stallion Tiarnan Loughran. So what we'll do is we'll head over. We're not even going to talk about that fight between ourselves. We're going to head over and we're going to hear Tiernan's thought on that fight, the build-up, future plans, etc. So we'll send it over to Tiarnan to hear his thoughts on that fight itself. And now we welcome back to the Owl Triangle the Stallion Tiarnan Loughran after his big LFL win last weekend over Spartak Kaliev. Tiernan, how are you? Should I say a mildly hungover Tiarnan Loughran is joining us today, right?
Mildly.
A little bit worse earlier on today, you were saying, huh?
I've got the most of it sweated out of me now. I've actually done 2 sessions today. Done a bit of a bicep. I'm on for a run there, so I've got the most of it sweated out of me, but I'm still not deadly. Let's get this over and done with.
Yeah, you're a better man. You're a better man than I am anyway. After a few pints, I'm barely able to get up off the couch. So you got 2 sessions in today to get all the badness out of you.
Yeah. I think I got the most of it.
Yeah. So look at you. We spoke just ahead of your fight with Spartak Kaliev, Tiernan, and schedules didn't align, and I'm glad to get the chance to talk to you now along with the lads. But you told me, and you made a point for me to say that it was the best you ever felt, it was the best camp you ever had, and you're feeling absolutely fantastic heading into that fight. What were the pinpoints of your training camp and everything that you did to bring you into that fight with the mindset that you're pretty much unstoppable?
I don't know. Everything just went well. I suppose I'm getting more experience at it now. Every camp you pick up wee things of what you should do. And I don't know, everything just clicked. I didn't have one injury in camp. The only injury I got was, I swear to God, in my last spar, me and another guy in the gym, I sprawled a takedown and I got a horrendous cut below my chin, which we all kind of panicked about. I had to go get that stitched up. So that was the only thing. That was a weird one. That's something that's never happened to me. That was a weird one. That was literally the only injury I had the whole camp. And yeah, training just went really well. I was really confident going into it, like.
And that definitely showed when you got into the cage and kind of look at. I think with Caoilte, he started with a lot of forward pressure, and it took you maybe 2.5 minutes to kind of get settled in and establish your jab. But it was the jab and it was the calf kick and the body work in round one that really kind of opened up your opportunities in the fight. Was that the game plan going in there? Were you surprised at the forward movement of Caoilte coming in there? Did it take you back a little bit and kind of struggle? Did you struggle a little bit to kind of get settled into the fight?
Not necessarily. Like not really with it wasn't really the forward pressure. I don't think I was expecting that. I didn't expect him to, I don't know, openly take a back foot or back step anyway. I was just expecting the shot a lot earlier. But don't get me wrong, but I haven't got watching the fight back yet. I texted LFL, I was like, is there any way I can get watch it? And they said it'll be out on YouTube in hopefully the next few days. But we were trying to get that via play here now, and I cannot get it. So I haven't got watching it back. But I honestly thought this man was going to shoot a takedown within I thought about the first 30 seconds, if not a minute at least. And he didn't shoot. And then from what I remember, I think we had a bit of a grappling exchange, or at least I got a hold of him anyway. And then I was thinking to myself, fuck me, he's not going to shoot. So I think I just relaxed a lot more. And then just started to find my shots. He tried to take me down once, I know that. I tried to take him down just to mix it up. But once I knew that he couldn't, like, your first shot is always your best shot. Your first takedown is probably going to be your fastest, your best. And he didn't really get close. I was like, right, I can kind of let the hands go here. Ken, there's not much coming back. And I would love to get watching it back. To be honest, I didn't think it would have been looked that good, but I've got people have told me it looked better, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to watching it, definitely.
We were talking behind the scenes, Tiarnan, and this is about as good a performance as a 2-0 professional can put on, if we're being honest here. You know, your work behind the jab was unreal. Was that something you were working on in camp?
Absolutely. I was in with I'm always in with Shando. Obviously, Shando was unbelievable. We were working our lead hand a lot, and like just wee things. I improved so much this camp. I was doing a lot of striking though. I was in with Jamie Crawford up there, and I was in with local boxers and stuff like that. I was doing a lot of striking. I'm doing a lot of wrestling as always, but yeah, I thought the jab would be a big tool to use now, definitely.
Other things that stood out to me obviously was the calf kick, but your body work as well. I thought your body work was excellent, and I don't remember seeing you relying on your body work as much in previous fights. But obviously, you're going to pick the openings that are there in the fights, but was utilizing and kind of attacking his entire body. Was that something that you wanted to do for yourself, or was it something that you game planned for? Because you're attacking high with the jab, you're throwing wonderful hooks to the body, you're attacking the calf as well. So you were keeping Caoilte guessing. You were going up, middle, down, and obviously that set up the head kick finish in the end, which we'll talk about in a minute. But is that something that you were really working on and trying to? Your shot selection, I thought, was excellent in that first round and in the second round as well.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's down to, because don't get me wrong, he wasn't like a world-class striker, and he was open to these things. Like, I was throwing feints in front of him. I can barely remember now, but his elbows were quite high, so I was like, the body's wide open. But like, I feel like the difference with me now is I'm seeing these shots. Like, I feel like for instance, my first fight from Fight Academy last year, I didn't see these things in the cage. I wouldn't have made any reads. I was so hyped up and so into the crowd in a way, whereas I didn't make reads in the cage for about the first 8 fights of my arms career. It was just go. There was no thinking. Whereas now I was landing the jab. I'd maybe feint the jab and his hands come up. So then obviously the body's there. Like I was circling them intentionally to my right, so he'd be heavy in the lead leg, and then she fucked me 3 of them clean calf kicks, and you're gonna be fucked. Like you're gonna be feeling it. So that's again, it's just down to, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting to show these skills more now because I'm just getting so much more comfortable in there. And then obviously down to my training with Pat and Shando and all them boys.
Yeah, is that down to just cage time for you, Tiarnan, or is it down to maybe a little bit of schooling or live sparring, or probably I would say a mixture of all of those kind of things?
For me, I'm definitely a mixture of both. Maybe for me, it was probably the cage time. I as I said, every time I'm just getting so much more comfortable in there, so calm. I was nearly scared this time. I was too calm. And then I feel like maybe that's why he was catching me a few at the start. It took me a minute or 2 minutes to wake up in a way, which is something I need to work on for the next time. But yeah, cage time, work in the gym, working with my coaches, I just down to that, I would say, definitely.
Do you enjoy travelling over to Amsterdam? Obviously, LFL seem to have a proper good setup over there, and they seem to like you, and they're giving you some solid matchups as well. One thing that we have talked about your brother Caoilte as well, and it was to no fault of his own, was that sometimes the level of competition wasn't there for him in the start of his career. But the same can't be said for you. I think you've got some good quality opposition to kick off your professional career, and I'm sure you think that's important too, to kind of progress and move on again to your next opponent.
Absolutely. The first traveling to Amsterdam, I could literally, obviously I want to move around. I want to fight in America. I want to fight all over the place, all over the world. But how could you beat traveling to Amsterdam? Me and Cian were literally, I was cutting weight and everything, but we were literally traveling to the airport, and I was like, look, this is unbelievable. Like I was just happy all week. It was, even from the weight cut, I didn't moan about it for 1 second. I was enjoying every single second of it. But obviously I want to go all over. I want to go all over the world fighting. But no, it's definitely hard to beat.
Sorry, Caoilte, go ahead.
Was there a bit of a change this time with the corner team? Because I know obviously first time you had Caolan and Paul Hughes, and were they up to no good the night before the fight or whatever it was? Was there a bit of a contrast this time around?
There was the night before the fight, for definite, there's a bit of a contrast. Don't get me wrong, me and the corner team, Big James Hughes, were fighting too. What an unbelievable James. He got that fight on, I think, the Tuesday, and fuck me, what a performance he put on. So it was me, James, Pat, and Caolan, and all 3 of them on the corner. So it wasn't the same the night before the fight, but the night before the fight, but the day after, we fucking we enjoyed Amsterdam, boys. We done it right.
Elaborate.
Hey boys, I swear to God, I don't remember much about it. We fucking we had some crack. Now Amsterdam's it's a deadly city. It's a deadly city.
Tiarnan, it's interesting to hear you talk about enjoying the moment, going over and just kind of really savoring it and being happy, because when I was watching you fighting, I this may come across weird or just hopefully it doesn't come across weird, but you kind of look like you had a big happy head on you, in the fight. You just seem to be, you're smiling away, and you seem very, very comfortable. And I'm wondering, we've seen you as primarily a grappler in your amateur run. It was your grappling that typically would win you your fights, but now I was watching it and it looked like someone playing the UFC video game where they know they have the beating of their opponent and they're like, right, I'm going to beat up his leg now for a bit and it's going to go red, and then I'm going to hit him in the body, and then I'm going to hit him in the head, and I'm going to draw this out until I get to finish. But you seem very calm and composed and happy in there. Do notice yourself in that kind of manner when you're fighting? Like, do you notice that you're calm and happy in there?
Boys, there's no point lying. Like, Spartak was a good fighter, and he was a lovely lad. But I was fighting after about 3 minutes, and I was like, it wasn't that hard, and I was like, I was enjoying changing, because I think everyone knows my style as an amateur was always the same. I was front foot, pressure, shoot box cannons, pressure takedowns. Whereas this fight, I was like, I'm going to go on the back foot. I'm going to show a different style. I'm going to use the big cage. I'm going to try and not even initiate the grappling. So this camp, we were kind of working like circling off, kind of a bit like Sean O'Malley was trying to be anyway, circling off, making him square up and hitting him as soon as he squares up. And I was honestly, I was very calm in there, but I was honestly enjoying working that. And I've picked up that mentality. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I think but I enjoy going into a cage now and nearly thinking, I'm going to work this. Like, I'm going to work this tonight. And I just think it puts me in a more relaxed state of mind. Whereas, like, if I'm dialed down on a, I don't know, game plan or dialed in on winning, I just feel like I'm a bit more tense. Whereas now I'm just like, right, let's work this tonight. Let's circle him out and fucking jab the nose of him. And I was just enjoying being in there. But don't get me wrong, boys. Don't get me wrong. I don't know what it is. Not that I never get tired, but I put myself down as very fit. I swear to God, I was hitting Spartak really hard, really clean shots. And I think Pat shouted halfway. I swear to God, 2 minutes 30 in, Pat shouted halfway. I goes, fucking hell, boys, this feels like a wild long round. And then I was hitting him again, and I just felt like at the time, I felt like he was showing me nothing. I was hitting a heavy bag. I was thinking, this is going to be so, this was all going through my head. Like, it's going to be so shit. I'm going to get really tired against this cunt. He's going to end up coming back or something. He's just going to be here all night. But no, thankfully got him out of there now.
You had that high kick in the chamber, Tiarnan. We had a little bit of a chat, and you said, you said you could see your shots there. You told me that you saw that early, but you didn't want to use it too early, and you wanted to pick the right time to do it, and you picked the exact right time to do it. It was the shot that finished the fight. It was a lovely finish, a highlight reel finish. Talk to me about what you remember of that finish.
Yeah, so the one thing, so I was kicking away his leg, but the one thing I remember, as obviously I was quite an experienced amateur, something like 13 fights. When I fought, it was Kevin Kehoe. I fought Kehoe, and we were kicking each other's leg. He was actually kicking my leg a lot, but then I went low and then went high and got like nearly just like, all right, I have to land that. Whereas then I just made it obvious. Whereas like, I was happy with the finish there, because I was always planning on throwing the head kick. But I was like, I don't want to throw it too early, because I don't want him to get a read for it or have anything. I don't want to completely pull him away from it and then go back to it. And then second round, Pat might have said in between rounds, I can't remember. Pat's great. Pat's actually great at throwing, like calling shots to throw, and they normally land for you. So he might have said to me in between rounds, I'm not sure, but I threw the first head kick I threw, it landed. Thank God.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And a lot. Obviously, your work to the calf definitely showed, but if I remember correctly, it was actually a fake to the body that opened up that head kick as well, it was a wonderful knockout. I'm really excited to see. You'll have to get on to me as well and see what you think when you do eventually get to watch it back. Moving forward with LFL, how many fights do you have left on your contract?
Just the one. Just one more.
Just the one. You want to get back in there before the year is out?
I am. I'm back in now. So their next show, hey, it's not that far away. Like, it's October 27th. I could be a bit off there, but I'm sure it's October 27th. I'm out again. Haven't got an opponent yet, but I'm sure I'm definitely going to be on the show. And then that's me. I've only signed a 3-fight deal, and I'll have to go back and talk to Pat and Shando and see what the crack is. But I actually just seen, like, I am loving LFL, boys. I'm loving the traveling away. Don't get me wrong, I obviously want to go, but they do travel around. They don't just go to Amsterdam. I think they do move around, like, so. And I just seen they actually have 3 fighters now from the LFL who are going to the Contender Series. I seen that today, like, so. I don't know. We'll have to see. Obviously, I'll get this next fight of the road, focus on that. But after that, I'm not 100% sure what I'll do. I'm not sure.
You know, you called your shot after the fight. You said, you know, you wanted a crack at the lightweight title as well. Do you think that's too far away from it being able to achieve that? You know, would it be one fight and maybe sign another contract, maybe with the, you know, obligation that if, you know, another one or two wins, you might get that belt around your waist?
No, boys, I was talking crazy. I do not want that LFL belt because I just seen the champion get signed to the Contender Series. And I do not want to go to the Contender Series yet. And I know Pat would not let me go near the Contender Series yet. So I'm hoping LFL kind of just forget about that. Don't offer me the belt and give me somebody just a wee bit better than Sportec.
That's fair. That's fair enough. Hey, look, the adrenaline is running in Tiarnan. You can understand. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's all good. And
no, I actually told Caoilte in the morning, like, if they give me the mic, I'm going to call for the belt to fuck it. He goes, why? Why not? I goes, what else am I going to say?
Why not? Yeah, two rights. Look, obviously you're wanting to follow in the footsteps of your brother Caoilte, who's in the UFC right now. Moving forward, like, when do you think you're going to be ready for an opportunity, whether it be a Contender Series, whether it be a straight up call to the UFC? Obviously, very, very early into your professional career so far, but what's an ideal kind of route for you to get to where you want to be?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm 23 now. I'm 23 now. I'm not 24 in March. Sorry. Like so much time. Like it'd be hard to put a time on it. But I'm getting so much better with the team. Like I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I would say maybe 3 years, 4 years. I'm an absolutely no panic. Like but yeah, I'll just have to just keep getting the wins now, and I'm gonna get there. I know I'm gonna get there. The UFC is the goal. And that'll stay the same for me now. And yeah, I'll get there eventually. But as far as exact age, I'm not sure.
Tiarnan, do you think that too many fighters try to rush their route? Because I actually think that's a great thing to hear from you. That you're like, you know, hang on a second here. I actually don't want that belt next. I want to take a step up and like gradually progress. Do you think too many fighters like are looking for the quick route to get there, and then maybe it doesn't go to plan once they're there?
I think so. I big time. Like not that I'm not in a rush to the UFC. I want to get there. If something popped up, you never know what you do as a fighter. Like, but at the end of the day, you're a long time in this game. Like, and you're a long time retired. Like, you're a long fucking time retired. Like, so you may as well make the most of it and hit the fucking UFC when you're in your absolute prime. Because I guarantee a lot of boys look back in their career, maybe think they didn't, and I definitely don't want to make that mistake. So. I'm in no rush. As I said, you're a long time retired, so I'm gonna take my time, keep getting better, and I would imagine when the time's right, I'll probably know. I'll be like, I know I can fucking beat them cunts. But yeah, I want to be absolutely sure of it, and I enjoy the fucking journey up there. Like it's just traveling away with LFL stuff like that. Like just keep doing that for now, getting better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Andy. It's a good mentality to have, and kind of making sure that, you know, when you get there, that you're going to stay there as well. So, because it's, you know, it's a dog eat dog world inside the UFC. And look, we've mentioned Caoilte as well. You know, you guys provide a good support network to each other. He's in your corner, you're in his corner. And, you know, he didn't get the result that he was hoping for against Jake Hadley in his last fight. Any thoughts yourself on the fight and how it went down and the aftermath, etc.?
It's just, it's one of them things. He didn't have much luck again. Like with the fight week, Tavares pulled out. Arguably, I don't think it's much argued. Got a lot tougher opponent with Hadley, and it's just he hasn't really had the luck yet in the UFC. But it is what it is. The fight went how it went. He says himself he didn't perform as much as he wanted to. He said he was flying in camp, and it's fucking Hadley got fighting is so on the night. Like Hadley just got the better of that night. If they sparred in the gym, the results would vary. Two high level fighters, but he got him that night. He's just gonna have to, I don't know, just move on to the next one.
Yeah, look, this is unfortunate as well. When you look at his 3 fights inside the UFC, 2 of them have been last minute opponent changes and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, I can definitely empathize with that situation as well, no matter how prepared you think you are. When you have a shift in goal and you're focusing on one opponent for quite a long time, and then, you know, it gets changed up. I think all fighters would have had that experience on, you know, the amateur ranks, and it's definitely on the professional ranks, but it's a different kettle of fish, I think, in the UFC as well, when you get those late notice opponent changes, because we're talking about absolute killers who are coming in here, and, you know, it must be hard to make that adjustment as well. Not trying to put words into his mouth or into your mouth, but that's just my thoughts on that situation.
Absolutely. Like, I know Keelan would never admit it, but it was, although I suppose maybe there was style, that's probably why they took the fight. There was stylistically a few similarities, but like, I know Keelan, how specific he is to his training and how much he prepares for styles. So any change is obviously not ideal, and as you say, especially at that level. But hey, that's it. What do you do, like?
Tiarnan, how was it for you, like, watching? I mean, like, I feel like it's different for various different siblings. There's a lot of siblings in MMA, and you've come up together, you've grown up together, but then also you're pursuing your dreams at the same time in the same sport. Is it an emotional thing for you when you're watching your brother, or are you able to kind of like just watch the fight, you know, unfold as it does, and or how much does it impact you, I guess, when you're watching on?
No, it is tough. It's definitely tough. Obviously, I get more nervous for him than watching anybody else, probably, which is normal enough. But I remember doing his corner once. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. It was hard to be helpful even. Maybe he doesn't feel the same. I'm not sure what way he feels for mine, but as far as watching him in front of a sold out, what do you call that, arena, that Manchester arena, that new one, like it's unreal. Like, it's unreal seeing him make that walk. But no, it definitely is. It definitely is tough. But getting more used to it. Like, fuck me, he said what? Keelan's he's over 20 fights now. Like, you get more used to it. Like.
100%. One last question before I go. Obviously, you know, you're in the lightweight division. There's been a reported massive lightweight fight coming up between a teammate of yours, Paul Hughes, versus AJ McKee. What do you think of that fight?
Is that actually out, boys? Is that fight out and confirmed?
Yeah, I was kind of asking you for clarity here.
I don't know, boys. I honestly.
It's been reported. It's been reported by Mixed Martial Arts Fighting, by a couple of other different reporters as well. But we've got no official word from Paul. We've got no official word from the PFL, I guess. We're hoping for maybe a bit of an official word here from Tiarnan Loughran, from the Stallion himself.
No one's listening.
Absolutely not. But I swear to God, I am as close to Paul as anyone in the gym, and he has not said a word to me about it. And not that I would expect Paul to release fight news to me, but he hasn't said this is definitely on or I'm fighting him. He's been very quiet about it. And then when I did see the poster and stuff, I was thinking, fuck me, is that happening? It's like, I didn't hear a thing. And then, I don't know, boys, I'll say nothing, but I know one thing: if it does happen, it's a fucking high level fight. It's by far the best fight you're going to get on that PFL. Yeah, but if the fight does happen, I'll back Hughes all the way, boys. But it's a great fight, absolutely great fight.
Absolutely. So Paul is active in the gym at the minute, anyway, waiting for word, I guess, maybe.
Oh, always though, always. Like, Paul's always training. He's always. Jeez, boys, Paul Hughes might be in the gym. I'm back to the gym tomorrow. I've been training away, but I'm back to Fight Academy. Or sorry, I'm not back to Tuesday. Like, Paul Hughes will be the first one there and the last one to leave. He is always training, so you wouldn't even know if he's in fight camp or not. But hey, if fight news comes about, I'll let Paul make that official. I'm not gonna say anything.
No problem. We won't put you into that loop either. Andy?
I actually have one more question before we go. You know, we had a conversation here the last time you were on. I felt like I gave a good account of myself, put forward my CV, and was hoping to get the job opportunity. But how many pieces of turf did you turn that day before this fight, and why did I not get the call? Can you give me some feedback, maybe constructive feedback? I'm just looking to understand what I can do to maybe get the job next time. Or
I didn't need you. But on the turf, I actually went up to check the turf the other night, Danny, and you'll be glad to hear they're bone dry and they're ready to go. And I was as surprised as anyone. Because the weather's been cat, but them fucking bad boys are ready for the fire. So I'm going to get them home in the next week. I think we're getting good weather next week. I'm gonna get them bad boys home. I'm gonna get the PFL. I'm gonna get the LFL paycheck. And I don't know what I'll do, boys. I might just retire on the spot, will I?
You definitely won't go cold in the wintertime. That might be the secret to your success, Tiarnan, because I remember before your last fight, we were milking cows, we were turning turf ahead of this fight here. What's what are we going to implement into the training camp ahead of your next fight? Maybe turning a bit of silage or something like that?
Cleaning the calf pens, that's the next job, and I've that to do tomorrow morning. I swear, boys, you talk about the hard work as the child doing that form and hard work. That stands to you. Hey, I'm gonna be doing them kettle houses tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna be doing a max deadlift for about, I'm gonna say 30 reps. I've been doing that since 5 years old, and I'm telling you, it's stuck to me.
Stallion by name, stallion by nature, Tiarnan.
I feel like we need to have a day on the farm, like a day in the life of the Loughrans as our next live interview with the L Triangle. You can take us around and put us to work.
You wouldn't last the day, Stevenson. You wouldn't last.
You don't know me. You don't know me.
No way. You wouldn't last the day.
I love it.
But you're welcome to come. Give it a go.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'd pay if you put that on pay-per-view. I'd definitely pay to watch Andy Stevenson working out on the farm.
Easy enough work, surely.
That would get bad bites.
Tiernan, thanks so much for taking the time. It was great to chat to you as always. We wish you the best. Hopefully, some fight announcements come soon for you at LFL again. We're looking forward to seeing your progression in that promotion, and we'll be talking to you again the next time as well. As always, it's been great crack. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Yes, thank you, boys. Thank you, as always. Thanks for having me on. Thank you.
All right, a couple of other tidbits to take care of before we wrap up this episode of the Ould Triangle. Matthew Friel was out at Bulo FC last weekend taking on Gary Priestley. Unfortunately, we didn't get to catch the fight as well. Going off Matthew's post, very close split decision. In that fight, obviously disappointing for anybody to lose a split decision. One thing I did mention is, I lost a split. He said word for word, I lost a split decision to a hometown guy. So obviously Matthew is a little bit aggrieved with that decision, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. Obviously a tremendous talent as well, and we wish him the best going forward. Disappointing loss all the same for him. Coming up, Caoilte, we have the pro debut of Trevor McKengo, who's taken Hassan Hussein on an FCC 39 on September 7th, coming up this coming weekend. Good fight for him. Great to see him in the professional ranks as well. Obviously, created a little bit of a buzz around his name with the old beef with John Redmond, Johnny Jitsu. Are you excited to see his pro debut, and what do you expect to see from him?
Yeah, I'm buzzing for it. Going from, I guess, seeing the physical change he's had on Instagram, he looks in incredible shape.
Insane.
Yeah, and I know, Andy, you've probably seen, I think you may have seen him when you're at the CMAC, but wow, what incredible, he looks primed for the pro ranks now. I'm really, really excited to see him, what type of performance he puts on. I'm glad that I think that fight with Johnny Jitsu is being kind of teased and kind of back and forth for so long. To be honest, I'm glad it's kind of behind us now, and we can see Trevor kind of progress and kind of go on to just get on with his pro career and see him active. And this is a very good fight as well. It's not against it's against a very good guy in the UK, split record as an amateur, but has fought some very good fighters. The one thing I have noticed is this Hassan Hussein, he's going up a couple of weight classes here. He was competing at welterweight as an amateur, so he must be after going through quite a transformation of his own to be going up a couple of weight classes. Because I believe this is light heavyweight. I could be wrong with that one, but yeah. So either way, great to see. Very good matchmaking as well, and not too long around the corner now to see this one.
100%. Look, good to see some fresh talent making the jump over to the professional ranks as well. Armand Herzeg will take on Matthias Urkau on the same card as well. Obviously, Armand searching for his first professional win. On September 14th, we mentioned it in the last episode. We'll give everyone the reminder. Lee Hammond will be fighting on WOW FC in Madrid on September 14th, along with Nikolai Grozdev as well, Andy. 2 exciting fights for us to look forward to there. Believe that is on UFC Fight Pass as well, so it'll be relatively easy for the majority of us to watch those fights as well.
Same with FCC as well. Like it's
FCC, yeah.
There's a lot of promotions now on there, so it's, you know, you don't have to necessarily go one route, or it's not just Cage Warriors that'll be on UFC Fight Pass anymore. There's a lot of them, so that's great for the lads to get that exposure, and just little things like people being able to see her fight easily or be able to watch it back and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm looking forward to seeing, obviously, Lee back in action as well. And obviously, Nikolai has been producing great performances too. So I'll be watching with eager eyes on that. Moving back to the domestic scene, we've got 3 shows coming up, obviously, which have been announced for Saturday, November 2nd. Cage Conflict, Clan Wars, and Premier MMA all going down. I mean, that's a I don't know how we're going to do that. We maybe have to take one a piece there, lads, to try and get that off, to get that covered correctly. But look, at a couple of great fights have been announced for a couple of fights on those cards. Cage Conflict have announced a pro featherweight fight between Mario Di Stefano and FAI's Corey McLaughlin. Obviously, Di Stefano fighting out of SBG Ireland. That's a fantastic fight, Caoilte, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I think one thing to begin with this one, we've been so critical before of Cage Conflict and bringing it. You know, we've had the ongoing joke about Italians coming over and so on and so forth. But the matchmaking here is like that's incredible. That's a Cage Warriors level fight to have on the top of the card. Fair play to 2 lads, 2 top amateurs in the country going head to head for their pro debut. Brilliant. So really, really happy to see that. I imagine Andy's even happier. Has a lust for Irish and Irish violence.
Irish MMA, you are welcome, Irish MMA. The L triangle, single-handedly. No, I'm only joking. I fucking love this. I love Irish and Irish violence, gym versus gym. Let's just get it. Let's start stoking the flames. Let's get a war. Let's Irish MMA civil war. Let's go.
All we need is a few rankings there now to stoke that fire as well. So let's see what happens.
We might get boards.e back going again and see if we can start the drama again.
I love it. Obviously, Clan Wars have started to announce a couple of fights on their big Clan Wars 50 card. Obviously, they're marking their 50th show, and they're promising a very stacked card. We see Gary Rooney coming in against Ayub Tunsi Dachek, and we have Lewis Byrne fighting at a professional featherweight fight against AJ Ghana. Andy, 2 really good fights to get us to whet the appetite, I think, for a big Clan Wars 50 card.
Yeah, pro fights. Like, the more pro fights that we can get in Irish MMA, the better. I know it's difficult. And to be fair, like we have seen on both Cage Conflict and Clan Wars, typically the shows in the north we're seeing, and now of course we're seeing on Iúr as well. So it's becoming commonplace to have a couple of pro fights now. Where we need them also is the Republic. We had that conversation already. We're not going to get into that today. But yeah, it's brilliant to see here. I will say, just maybe to jump back to that whole topic of the 3 shows the same night. I know I've seen a good few people kind of chatting about this already, maybe online here and there, and people involved in the scene. It's just it's not ideal. I think it just from the promotions, each other's perspectives, because you're really going head to head. It's making it very competitive, which in one sense is a good thing, but from a ticket selling, I know there's like 2 of them are in Belfast, so from a ticket selling perspective, you're limiting, you know, the footfall that can come through the door. Typically, it's going to be the Irish MMA community. If we're being honest, none of these shows are bringing in big footfall from, you know, the general public who have an interest in MMA. That's just not happening. We're not even seeing that at the Bellator level anymore in Ireland. So it's going to be lads who they're mates or through the gyms. And if you're kind of having half the gym go to one show, half the gym to another, or, you know, you're not having a gym at a show or not having a gym at a different show, it's just tough. And I think to be honest, and nothing against Niall Sunderland or Premier. If I was Premier, I'd probably move my show, just because it's a show that's getting established and you're trying to get the gyms and build those relationships. It's going to be more difficult when you've got 2 other shows competing on the same night, but maybe they'll target a different area of the country and it'll all work out okay. But it's just not ideal having 3 shows same night. I think it's a bad move all around.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. It's not ideal. I mean, you're spreading gyms thin. If you have multiple fighters fighting on those multiple cards. Look at, I mean, to have those shows going on, I mean, it provides fights for the fighters, which is a good thing. Doesn't make it easy for us to cover it. Doesn't make it easy for the fans. Doesn't make it easy for the gyms. But yeah, we'll see what happens and what progresses with that as well. Cage Warriors coming up as well. We're seeing the return of Solomon Simon. And it's September 20th, obviously, yeah. So look, at Solomon has been looking fantastic, and I can't wait to see him. Obviously, 4 in a row right now, looking to make it 5-0 against Orlando Wilson Prince. That's a really, really good fight, Caoilte, isn't it? It's a serious test, and very excited to see that go down.
Yeah, and it shows that Cage Warriors are really getting behind Solomon now with this fight. Orlando Wilson Prince is coming off a loss for the title. Like, he's, so Solomon may be 1-2 fights away from a title shot, and it's nearly mad to think, because it's only it feels only recently that we were talking about him turning pro, and he's just he's really come on strong in the pro ranks, finishing fights, looking brilliant, improving every single fight, and he is lining himself up to go on a title run here in Cage Warriors. And yeah, brilliant. Love the fight. Love the matchmaking. Ian Dean special once again. Brilliant. And Waterford may have a Cage Warriors champion sometime soon. That's the other thing I'm thinking about here as well,
Yeah, that would be great to see. And obviously, Andy, we see Dara Ward coming back 2-0 against George McManus, a well-known name inside the Cage Warriors. Look at... no, that's not happening either.
No, it is. I'm just thinking, like, what did George McManus do to Chris Fields?
Yeah, I was wondering why you're shaking your head there. I was worried that.
Well, like, what's like Chris Fields? What did George McManus do to you? Like, what? Who did he hurt? Why are you doing this to him? Why are you putting all your up and coming prospects, the lads who are looking like the most dangerous, sadistic fighters that you have, and putting them against poor George McManus? I don't mean this may come across incredibly disrespectful to George McManus, but like, as soon as I hear his name, I think of the absolute beating that Ian Gary gave him, and then I think of the beating that he got. Was it from Omran? Then afterwards,
that was the last fight.
And you look at a guy like Dara Ward and what he has done so far, and he is a vicious, vicious fighter. And to be honest, I can't see it going any different way against George. No, he's a good fighter. He's got some good submission skills, but I think Dara's going to go in and bust him up here, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, look at it. Yeah. Look at George McManus. Obviously, he's coming in here with the experience, having been in there with some guys. Yeah, I think, it's going to be a tough one for him against Dara as well. Dara's been looking like a beast, and
it's not bad matchmaking. That by any means.
No. I just think 100%. Yeah. I get what you're saying. 100%. That's the same night, obviously, as James Webb fights for the title as well. And I guess that is it for episode 65 of the Auld Triangle. Thanks everybody for listening in. As I said at the top of the podcast, give us an old like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think about some opinions or thoughts, or if you want us to talk about anything. We do appreciate the support, and all is left for us to do is for Caoilte to see us out.
Gurmi and Wagav, agus long go